Okay. Good morning. It's Mr. Muller, yes?
That's correct.
Can I call you Matt?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Hi, my name's Helen. Pleased to meet you today.
Same here.
Did you have any issues finding us? Get here okay?
No, it was all straightforward enough.
Great.
No dramas at all.
Lovely. Can I get you a tea, coffee, water?
I'm good for the moment, thank you.
Okay, great. Now, have you ever been to a solicitor or a lawyer before?
No, first time.
Okay. So just to explain a little, the purpose of the initial interview is to just get to know you a little bit, have you talk about what your issue is. We wouldn't be looking at giving actual legal advice at this point.
Okay.
Obviously, anything you say here will be kept completely confidential. The only exception to confidentiality rules are if you give permission for confidentiality or for information to be released, if the court orders the information to be released, or if maintaining confidentiality may cause a problem in terms of a crime being enacted.
Okay.
But otherwise, you can be assured that anything you say here will remain here, whether or not you engage us, and beyond that, it will all remain confidential.
Good. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you could just tell me a little bit about why you're here today.
Well, the reason I've come is it's about my mother. My mother is 78, and she has been for quite a while a bit dotty, but I think it actually now is getting to the point that I'm getting worried about her mental state.
Right.
And I'd like to get basically legal affairs sorted, particularly the will.
Okay.
So I haven't actually spoken to my mother directly seeing you. I wanted to get some advice first. I'm not quite sure where to go from here and what basically needs to be done. As I said, my mother, the reason I'm saying I'm worried about her mental state is that recently she has started telling me that people are stealing from her, that our cleaning lady apparently is hiding things from her.
Right.
That the cleaning lady also apparently is stealing food from the refrigerator.
Right.
So at the beginning, actually, I took that really at face value and believed her. So in fact, I went to the trouble of actually setting up a webcam and monitored the refrigerator, and no, the cleaning lady is not stealing any food.
Okay.
So, and I don't believe that, of course, she's hiding anything. We've had the cleaning lady for quite a long time, for several years, so I do trust her. So I can only assume my mother's mind is playing tricks on her at the moment. And,
Okay, so you're looking then to have a will drawn up for her, or she has a will, but you want to make changes to it?
Yes, the latter. I'd like to make changes. So my mother had a will drawn up several years ago, which equally specified me and my three siblings as beneficiaries.
Okay.
And she has recently, in the last half year, indicated, because I've been exclusively looking after her and the house, that she would like to amend that in my favour.
Right.
So we haven't really specified exactly how much we're talking about here, whether I should be the sole beneficiary or basically just the 25% is shifted a little bit towards my favour. But as I said, at the moment it's equal share, and I'd like that to be changed, and of course with permission by my mother.
Okay. Okay. Just a couple of questions about your mum. Has she had any medical diagnosis to say that she's failing mentally or anything like that?
Nothing to that effect.
Okay.
I mean, she has had a long history of illnesses, breast cancer and the like. In terms of her medical abilities, no, there hasn't been any assessment by a professional. As I said, it's my personal assessment because she has come up with all these little bit weird stories which clearly didn't quite pan out.
And you've been looking after her, you say, exclusively for quite some time?
Well, I moved in with her about 5 months ago.
Right.
And before that, I was the only one basically trying to assist her with any paperwork. I was living in Victoria beforehand. And recently, due to losing my job, basically change of circumstances, basically decided to move in with her. So I've been the only one actually looking after her. My
Right.
3 other siblings basically don't care. They're not around at all and don't contribute or assist in any way at all. And that has been the case for quite a long time, in fact, with those.
Okay. Okay. So your mother, does she have a solicitor already, or she's just done a will and not seen another solicitor?
I don't think she has seen another solicitor. I believe the will she has is probably, I haven't actually seen it, she only told me. I haven't seen the actual document myself.
Right.
I believe the document is probably written by herself, not in any way certified or acknowledged by a legal professional.
Okay.
So I'm not even quite sure how valid that is.
Okay.
So all I know is the information that we're all basically listed all on the 4 siblings in equal shares as beneficiaries is just word of mouth from my
Right.
mother. Yeah.
And so you haven't brought any documentation with you today?
No, I just wanted to basically have a first chat first
Okay.
of all, and of course I'd be happy to bring my mother along. Clearly she will have to sign ultimately,
Yes,
and
yes,
yeah, but
that's right.
I just wanted to have a first chat and just say what can be done, what needs to be done, what's the best course of action.
Okay. Okay. Well, that all is fairly clear. I should also advise you, obviously, that if we pursue this and we do work on your behalf or your mother's behalf, that of course there would be costs involved. Obviously, I'd go into that in greater detail further down the track, but that would require an agreement between us. As to that, obviously we do cost based on number of hours spent on the matter. We obviously try to reduce those or minimise them as much as we can so that our clients don't feel that they're paying a large sum of money out. Now, obviously, in this instance, tell me, your siblings, you're not actually in communication with the siblings at all, or?
Rarely. We had a bit of a falling out some years ago,
Right.
and since then there has been very little communication between all of us, basically.
Right, okay. And that includes your mother? She doesn't really talk to her other children, or?
Well, she does probably maybe on a monthly basis. She might have a phone call. Yeah. But it's not extensive. So, as I said, yes, she is in touch with them, but it's very limited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, I'm just writing some notes here about this so that I can make sure we've covered off everything we need to. Now, have you got any questions for me around any of these processes, or anything about what to expect when you're dealing with it?
If we go ahead with this change, do we have to disclose that to my siblings? Because I can imagine that they won't be too happy about any change which is not in favour to them, and might potentially want to take legal actions.
Well, certainly we would not be disclosing any of that information because, as I've mentioned, anything you say here to me is entirely confidential. If your mother, of course, changes her will, then it would be entirely up to her as to whether she wished to disclose that information. But certainly from our perspective here, none of this conversation would be disclosed.
To make things even a little bit more complicated, one of my siblings actually is nominated as the current executor of the estate. So I'm assuming that he will have to be notified about the change, or?
Well, at this point, I wouldn't really like to advise until we've got all the facts. I'd like to have a look at everything that you've said to me today, review that before I would make any recommendations or further advice.
Okay.
This interview is more what I would consider a preliminary interview, where I find out why you're here, how you need our help, and After that, we would go into further detail looking at possible advice and remedies.
What I'm a little bit worried about is, should we maybe have a medical assessment done of my mother's mental abilities? I'm a little bit worried about that this change to the will might actually be challenged in court later on by my siblings on the basis that she might have not been entirely mentally fit to basically enact this particular change to the will.
Well, again, obviously without meeting your mum, it's difficult for me to assess any of that, but obviously at times it is worthwhile to have your GP or her GP just check her out, make sure that she's fit and well. So of course it couldn't hurt to do that.
So should we get